The entire auto industry is about ready to just fall apart. If we look at Toyota, profits down. Nissan, laying off thousands of people and cutting production. Honda profits down. Mazda profits down, even though they're going to break a sales record this year. Jaguar Land Rover, profits are down. Stellantis laying off people. Rivian losing billions of dollars. Lucid, well, close to $1 billion. Meanwhile, Tesla's skyrocketing on the success of Trump's re-election. So they're just going to ride that to the moon and back. And Musk being so close to the president-elect, I think is going to have some implications on the entire auto market. And we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Oh yeah, BMW, the Germans are not exempt from the massive lack of business going on right now. All right. So we're going to dive into this today. If you guys are, well, a little bit worried about the auto industry like I am, smash the like button. But what does it mean for the consumer as all these profits are going down? Well, in theory, they have to incentivize the vehicles more. Long term, they have to figure, I mean, let's start with Nissan. Long term, they have to figure out a solution to make vehicles more affordable. That's what it comes down to. Why are all the profits down? Well, people are not buying cars at the rates that they would like to see. So cars need to become more affordable. Interest rates need to come down. That's kind of out of the hands of the manufacturers to an extent, unless they want to incentivize the interest rates with special rates, but that it also takes money out of their pockets. So that's, you know, the interest rates are definitely not helping. But Nissan to cut 9,000 jobs. This is the biggest news of, well, outside of, you know, Tesla going to ride that momentum for who knows how long. But anyways, Nissan cutting 9,000 of jobs. Nissan is in red alert. They're in emergency mode. Their CEO, Makoto Uchida, has said they're in an extremely tough situation, cutting 9,000 jobs, cutting production, and selling a chunk of its stake in Mitsubishi in a bid to reverse Nissan's slide. Uchida said he would give up 50% of his CEO compensation from this month to take responsibility for the slump. Well, just 1 month? You're just going to take a 50% cut for 1 month? Now, Japanese CEOs typically don't make anywhere close to the same amount of money as American ones. 180 or something, 187. So he's only making $187,000 a month. Still not that much money compared to many other CEOs for large companies. Just 1 month, he's taken a $180,000 cut. But guys, it's a bit silly. It's a bit silly. The new measures aim to carve out nearly $3 billion in an additional savings for Nissan. So earlier this year, remember in March, Uchida said, hey, you know, we're going to boost sales by 1 million vehicles in the coming years and deliver an operating profit of 6% or more. And here we are 6 months later, and he's already going back on that, putting those goals on hold. We have no choice but to partially revise the plan. He said, it is my deepest regret to face this challenging situation in the initial year of the ARC. And in the ARC, there's 30 new or updated products promised, but their launch timing is all screwed up now. It's going to be pushed back. Big surprise, in my opinion. Hopefully, they do not push back their e-power hybrids in America. They've already pushed them back far too long. They struggle with highway fuel economy. That's probably the biggest reason they've been brought into America. But yeah, we're sitting here twiddling our thumbs, waiting for more competition on the hybrid end. Nissan just has zero to offer. So Nissan employs 133,000 people. 9,000 of those people are now gone. Currently, they have 25 production lines globally. They want to reduce those 25 lines by 20%. So what does that mean? Around 20 lines? Nissan wants to reduce vehicle development lead time to 30 months and deepen collaboration with its partners, including Renault and Mitsubishi. I mentioned last month when I was at Nissan's headquarters in Tennessee that they want to use, and they will be using, Mitsubishi's plug-in hybrid in the Rogue next year. So it's coming, but it's a little too late to save them, at least now, from their falling business. There's about 2 more pages about Nissan and their issues, but what about Toyota? Are they struggling as well in terms of profits? Absolutely. Net profit, $2.4 billion for the first half of the current fiscal year, down 26% from last year's. The Japanese yen is getting stronger versus the US dollar. We also have lagging sales, mainly due to the lack of production on the Daihatsu end, lack of production on the Hino end, and the lack of the production here in North America of the three-row crossovers, the Lexus TX and Toyota Grand Highlander. But let's not forget that in China, we're seeing a huge reduction in demand for anything that's not a Chinese automaker. Operating profit down 3.7% compared to the first half of last year. This last quarter alone, operating profit was down 20% versus last year. And this is the first time we've seen a quarterly profit drop for Toyota since 2022. Toyota sales in China down 14%. Sales down in Thailand 13%, down in Indonesia 7.5%. And global sales totaling 5 million cars, down almost 3% on the year. Well, here's some interesting stuff. Well, now that Trump's in, he mentioned that he wants to tariff cars from Canada, from Mexico, especially Mexico. He's hitting hard on that. He doesn't like NAFTA. Now, Toyota is investing almost $1.5 billion to increase production capacity for their Tacoma, which is surprising to me because I mean, I hear from you guys on my channel, like demand wherever you're at is hit or miss, but they're going to be making a plug-in hybrid. I brought that up on the channel before, plug-in hybrid, the Tacoma, which is not going to help sales too much because what is that going to do? Well, Tacoma's already very expensive. It's going to increase the cost of the Tacoma quite heavily, I would expect. With this big investment, we're getting 1,600 more jobs by the end of the year. Honestly, like, expanding these Toyota plants to build more Tacomas doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, they're expanding the powertrain lineup with a plug-in hybrid. I think it would be to produce something else, maybe a smaller pickup truck. Maybe the 4Runner could be built there. I highly doubt it. It's a bit strange. I just don't think demand for the Tacoma is that high. But what do I know? Let me know in the comments down below if you'd rather see a different truck being produced in these Mexican plants, one south of California in the Baja plant and one in Guanajuato. All right, let's talk about Honda. Honda's profits and earnings down and possible tariffs impacting their Mexico plant. The HRV from Honda is built down there and possibly something else that I can't say because I'm under embargo. But Honda saw profit slide 15% in the company's most recent quarter. Higher R&D expenses. You guys know I went to Japan to see pretty much what they're working on for their 0 Series EVs. Foreign exchange headwinds, also weak sales in China. They're being affected just like everyone else. We'll talk about BMW here in a little bit with the sales in China being down. Oh, also remember that I forget that the Prologue is built down there. Why do I forget that? Well, it's not built by Honda, it's built at a General Motors plant. But there's about 160,000 Hondas being shipped from Mexico to the United States. Those could be subject to a tariff. And if that's the case, they might go elsewhere for production, not subject to U.S. tariffs. Well, the thing is, the only other place not subject to tariffs, in theory, we don't have these tariffs put in place yet. Of course, the president-elect gets in January 20th, and who knows how fast or if he'll put these tariffs in at all. I mean, everything's just kind of up in the air. I almost bet that he will be able to terminate the EV tax credit, which we'll talk more about here in a little bit with Tesla. But he says we'll have to go production somewhere else. I just don't see where they have the production capacity in U.S. or Canada, especially with the Ohio plant right now being reworked for better production capacity. But in the meantime, like production's really, really low for Honda on the Accord and the TLX and Integra. I mean, the foreign exchange alone with the stronger yen hurt Honda nearly $400 million compared to last year's more favorable exchange rates. Net income plunged 61% to $700 million in the July to September period. Yikes. Let's move on to Mazda. Falls to net losses. Incentives soar, facing downward earnings revision. Their operating profit fell 47% in the company's second fiscal quarter. Record sales in North America were experienced, but high industry incentives offset the gains that we made from volume and currency, said Jeffrey Guyton, their CEO here in North America. In total, our results did not meet our expectations. In Japan, their sales are down 10%. European sales are down 14%. And if I remember correctly, there's no mention of their Chinese sales, which I'm sure are not doing that well. Let's switch away from the Japanese automakers. Jaguar Land Rover profit falls 10% on supply chain issues. I'm sure that's not the only reason. And 10% for them is a drop in $516 million of pre-tax profit just in this quarter. They blamed the drop in deliveries on continued aluminum supply constraints caused by flooding at a mill in Switzerland. That mill flooding has also affected Porsche, Mercedes-Benz. Even the Indian market, remember Tata Motors, an Indian company, owns Jaguar Land Rover. The Indian market is slowing as well. Tata's net income was down 11% on the quarter, nearly $400 million. And Jaguar Land Rover is the largest division of Tata Motors, making up 2/3 of the group's revenue in the period. There's an overall slowdown in Indian consumption, high inflation, and even India's biggest car maker, Maruti Suzuki, last week flagged slowing sales for its entry-level cars after quarterly earnings missed estimates. Man, it's like the global economy is just imploding right now. Stellantis, not as many layoffs as Nissan, but 400 workers just got laid off at a parts facility. And this warehouse sends parts to the Detroit Assembly Complex where Stellantis builds the Jeep Grand Cherokee and Durango. Back on November 6th, Stellantis said they would lay off as many as 1,100 workers who build the Jeep Gladiator in Ohio this coming January. So they're going to be laying off more people. I just don't know how Rivian or Lucid are going to make it long term. I know they have investments from Saudis and Amazon, but when you're losing billions of dollars every quarter with no like turnaround in sight, I just don't see how this is going to work out for Rivian and Lucid. Do I want them to succeed? Sure. I think more car companies out there, the better, the more competition. About Rivian, third quarter net loss of $1.1 billion. I mean, they're making Nissan look good at this point. With a sharp fall in revenue on lower production and deliveries of their expensive EVs. Now, in the same time last year, Rivian's net loss was $1.4 billion. Okay, well, it's an improvement, but you're still losing over $1 billion per quarter. Look at this though. Rivian, we know Rivian's losing money on every vehicle it sells, but look at this. The Automakers' gross loss per vehicle delivered was $39,000+ compared to a little over $30,000 in the year earlier, losing $39,000 per Rivian sold. Third quarter revenue fell to just $874 million from $1.3 billion in the same period last year. A 35% decline was Rivian's first quarterly decrease since listing on the stock market 3 years ago. Now, remember, Rivian got $5 billion from Volkswagen, so Rivian can share with them their technology, their software, with the upcoming Scout vehicles from Volkswagen. So that's keeping them afloat right now as well. But they're also having supply chain issues too, which it seems like everyone is having supply chain issues. Let's look at Lucid. Q3 net loss widens to $950 million. Shares rise, though, on improved revenue. That doesn't make much sense to me. Revenue surged 45% to $200 million, but their net loss was $950 million. We're going to hit BMW real quick, and we'll finish with Tesla, which is probably the only good news on this onslaught today. BMW Q3 net profit plummets 83.8% to $508 million. The revenue fell 15% too. So they're having issues related to integrated braking system and a weakened Chinese demand as the main factors here. So this integrated braking system is a massive recall, which is screwing up their profitability. In the first 9 months, BMW's vehicle sales reached 1.75 million, a 4.5% decrease from last year's figure, but it's accelerating. Check this out. A third quarter alone saw a 13% drop in deliveries, going from 621,000 last year to 540,000 sales. Sales declined 24% across the entire Asian region. It's largely because of the huge market in China, down 30%. Europe saw 1% decrease. It's like out of all the brands we've talked about, I mean, Mazda saw like what, a 14 or 17% drop. And you see BMW here with just a 1% decrease. In America, we're up to a 11% decrease with sales totaling 101,000 units, which is still a boatload. All the Americas, I believe. That's not just the United States. Otherwise, they would be on pace to like be over 400,000 sales in the US, which is not ever going to happen for BMW. This explains it. Here we go. The U.S. market specifically saw a 9.2% reduction in sales to 83,000 units. And here we have Tesla getting that $1 trillion market value once again, as well, Musk has picked the correct side, at least for boosting his company. Tesla's stock gained 29% this week, adding more than $230 billion in its market cap, the best since January 23. With Musk being so close to the action here, for Trump's victory, in theory, will help expedite regulatory approval of the company's autonomous driving technology. That's really, I mean, honestly, that is what Musk has put all his cards and his eggs into: AI and autonomous driving. Retail automobile sales doesn't seem to be what he could. I mean, look, he never came out with a more affordable EV. He doesn't care to. I mean, look, it's not going to help his profits, and he's just, creating lots of volume, lots of production volume for the sake of, I guess, having more Teslas out there. But really, he is banking on autonomous driving to be the future of the company. This could push favorable regulation of autonomous vehicles and get the U.S. National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration to hold off on potential enforcement actions involving the safety of Tesla's current driver assistance systems. Not mentioned in this is that Trump is more than likely to completely axe the EV tax credit. That will hurt Tesla, but it could potentially hurt Tesla's EV rivals much more. Yeah, the EV tax credit probably is going to get destroyed, for better or for worse. It's not in effect yet. If it happens, if it gets struck down, the $7,500 free money essentially you get to reduce the price of your vehicle, we'll see what happens with it. But I think Elon's sitting as good as he possibly could with Tesla being in the ear of the president. And with a lack of EV tax credit, this will benefit probably Toyota a ton, maybe Stellantis, like the companies that have invested the least in EVs in North America, I guess relative to the size of their company, are going to benefit the most. The companies that are going to benefit the least, yeah, maybe Tesla, but they have other benefits going on. Being close to the president is going to be Lucid and Rivian. Without EV tax credits, could you imagine what's going to happen to these companies? I think it's pretty obvious. Mazda should be just fine not having an EV tax credit. Honda, that's a bit of a gray area, right? Honda wants to be fully electric by 2040. Nissan would benefit from not having EV tax credits. They have a lot of other issues Nissan needs to sift through other than EVs right now, or just, should I say, BEV tax credits. And Toyota, I think they'll be fine. They've hedged their bets with multiple powertrain solutions. In the meantime, the auto market's going down. It's going down fast. Profits are going down. Production is going down. People are getting laid off. How bad this will get, no one knows. I mean, Toyota just put out recently, I'll pull this up, Jack Hollis, Toyota COO. Well, yes, he says that the EPA's regulations are impossible for Toyota to meet, but he's forecasting next year the U.S. auto market sales will be at 16 million, adding that the industry would be relatively flat with only modest growth. He sees continued volatility in the U.S. economy with little chance of recession. A little chance? I think it's going to get, well, I hate to be negative, but I don't see, like, yes, Trump getting in could change some things for the benefit of the economy. So I'm hoping for that. But in the meantime, I just don't see this happening in 2025. A 16 million sales year. This year, Jack Hollis predicted that the U.S. market would be over 15.8 million. Now, even though Toyota is going to be down this year due to the lack of production of the three-row crossovers, Lexus, despite not having the TX, is likely to set an annual record. They could be the #1 luxury automaker in the United States this year, which is just bonkers, passing BMW. We'll see if they're able to do it and finish strong and beat BMW here. But do you think the U.S. auto market will hit 16 million. The only way I see it happening is if interest rates come down substantially and affordability gets better overall. But I just don't see that happening. So I'll see you guys in the comments. It's a very long video today. Essentially, to sum it up, pretty much all the automakers are struggling right now, and it's going down fast. We're going to see layoffs. We're going to see revisions. We're going to see huge changes with the new presidential change going on, and that will affect positively some manufacturers, whatever Trump changes, and it'll negatively affect some other automakers, especially those who are heavily invested into EVs, I believe. We'll see, though. Time will tell. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more automotive news. Have a great day and peace.